Hi everyone. So I'm really lucky today because I'm here with Gillard, the other KG, and we're going to talk a lot about using the voice within ritual, but in particular, using the voice for healing within ritual and also within client work. Um, I am terrible at using my voice, very good at telling people what I think, but my singing is really bad. However, Kay's singing is amazing. And if you were part of the what's it called you do? The awakening, the wheel of the year, healing through the wheel of the
Oh,
year.
yes.
Yeah. If you're part of the healing through the wheel of the year mailing list, you will have heard a lot of Kay's voice work. Yeah, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, Kay, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
I've never thought of myself as the other KG before. This is fun. There are two of us. Fun. I am a shamanic healer primarily. I'm also a Reiki master, but I tend to teach Reiki people and Reiki masters to use shamanic or shamanistic ideas to kind of make their work stronger. And as a shamanic practitioner, I tend to work with people who are already on a healing path or on a spiritual path. I work with a lot of people who are interested in magical work, because for me, I like to sit in that interesting intersection between devotional work, magical work, and healing work. So I'm based here in Glastonbury, and I do see clients and lead circles here. And I used to in London and in Kent. I've been doing this work for 19 years now, possibly 19 years today, which is fun. And I have been doing magical work for longer than that, and psychic work for longer than that. I was, the women in my family are mediums. I was taught to read tarot when I was about 14, I think. So it all kind of has bled into each other. But the voice work for me is more important than drumming, more important than energy channeling. For me, it's the most important tool that I have. So I do the healing through the wheel of the year work, and also I have a monthly subscription thing called Propolos. And there's so much voice and drum work in that. In that one, we work through the moons primarily. And yeah, for me, stepping into that voice work and making that the public thing, and it's not singing, it's not music, it's something else. And that's really formed one of the main core things that I use in my shamanic healing work and my teaching.
So where did you first hear this, or where did you first discover you could do this?
I think my first shamanic training that I did, which was here in Glastonbury, actually, 19 years ago, I started doing my Reiki training and my shamanic training the same week. Clearly, I just made a decision and went, this is happening now. And over the course, that was about a year or 9 months, that training. And it's actually not the way that I do shamanic healing, but it had two really important influences for me. And one of them was around kind of connections, cord cutting and stuff like that. And again, I don't do it the way that they did, but that was foundational for me, understanding energetic connections between people. But the other was that they did vocal healing on the body. Now, they had a set of sounds that we used, and we used to work through the chakras, I suppose, like the main chakras of the body, which again isn't really what I do now. But the most essential thing that they taught me on that course, and it has changed my healing and my magical practice forever, was they didn't give us any notes to use. We would have a particular type of sound, so I would know kind of what shape I was gonna put my mouth in, but I had no idea what it was going to sound like. They taught us to pitch ourselves to the body of the person in front of us. And if you look at sound healing training and a lot of resources, and particularly sort of free resources that talk about how to use healing, particularly for chakra work, people will say, oh, there's a particular note that you use. And that's totally flies in the face of everything I know about healing and everything I know about magic. What are you talking about? Like, every person, that's the note for that chakra. That's crazy. And even for one person, day to day, what they might need. And healing is working in the murky spaces, you know, where we have to, it's not supposed to be a beautiful sound. We're supposed to be moving energy. And that's what they gave me the freedom to do, those first teachers that I worked with for voice work. And it really, really stayed with me. And I think so much of my healing work has been dependent on pitching myself to the body in that way, sort of really working almost as a medium, like a noisy medium.
I love that. So, as somebody who wants to do sound healing, how do I know what note to make? How do I know how to put my mouth in the right position?
Well, there are lots of really basic sounds that we work with people that are a good starting point. The thing that I ask people to do is always trust. What it's like, if I say, okay, so when I run circles of healers, we'll maybe have a particular sound that we're going to start with. So you would start with the heart sound, generally accepted, an R sound for the heart. It's like, okay, well, that's what we're going to make. We're going to say R, and we'll start there. And sometimes the group will stay with the R sound and we'll just keep making it, and we'll allow the tune to kind of develop as we do it. But if you're sitting by yourself, and that's a good way to start if you're nervous about your voice, particularly, like just to sit by yourself and just kind of tune into the heart center. So right in the center of the chest, kind of feel into that and know that you're going to make the R sound, but don't worry about what it sounds like, because this isn't music, it's not singing, it's energy work, right? And then to just sit and be like, trying to make the sound be felt, make it be palpable. And from there, that's sort of quite low, almost like, it's almost like a speaking pitch. It's not really singing, you're not trying to make it sound nice. And then you'll feel in your body how that part of your body is reacting to the voice. Feel if it feels tight, feel if it feels like it wants to expand and become, or whether, are you feeling heavy with it? Do you need to take it down and go lower with the sound? And then experiment with it. Feel how it feels in your body then. And then if you suddenly start moving into A, then do that. Don't say R because I told you to say R. Listen to your body, you know? And it really is playtime. It's playtime. And that's how I want people to approach singing for healing. It's supposed to evolve kind of naturally and be about how your body responds and how it feels. But it's also, you know, it's an enjoyable thing. It's a freedom.
So in something called somatic healing, so there's a big part of therapy and counseling which is looking at releasing tension, releasing kind of almost kind of stuck feelings, stuck emotions from the body. So you would do movement, you would focus on that part of the body. This sounds so similar. This sounds like the same sort of thing. But to me, as somebody who isn't very good at recognizing my emotions, or even very good at recognizing how my body feels a lot of the time, I can really see how using voice and using notes would be a much easier way of going about it. So if I wanted to focus on a feeling or an emotion, and I wanted to do so with sound healing and then use the sound to release that, how do I do that?
Yeah, well, you're pinning yourself then to an intention, right? So if you're working with a certain point in the body to kind of, okay, like when we were just saying, we're going to focus in on the heart, make a basic sound and then see what the heart requires. But you could, and if you were working on a client, you'd be pitching to the type of healing that you knew that they were going to need. And so then that's your it's their body, but also their needs, and you know, their ancestors coming forward and their guides coming forward and everything, all of that stuff going on. So you're moving energy deliberately. But for yourself, pick the thing. If it's a, you know, if you're going through a breakup, where is it in your body then? You know, if you are struggling with fatigue, where is it then? Find me that. And so hypnotherapy will quite often lean into like trying to find that in the body, right, where you're kind of mapping it. And shamanic work does that, and working with movement can help people kind of shake it out. But I think sound, I don't know, there's something about it. It's you don't have to worry about whether you're doing, your body responds to sound. All of our bodies are wired to respond to sound. We can't not do it. We can't not feel sound. You know, so you just set your intention of, let's say there's a particular emotion that you're struggling with, say that is guilt. Ask yourself, okay, and just scan through your body with your attention. Where is it? And then find the area of your body where it is. And then if I'm working with a client, I will always ask them, okay, describe it to me. So really hone in on that area. What does it feel like? Does it have a shape? Does it have a solidity, or does it feel kind of fluid? Does it have a color? Does it have a temperature? All that stuff. We're trying to pin it down in the body. And then generally speaking, I would say assist yourself with external energy, like energy from source. So quite often, if I'm working with less experienced clients, I would say pull up earth energy, or draw down like starlight, or whatever, you know, feels right for the person. Try not to, it's easy to drain yourself. You're pushing energy out of your body. So you're potentially going to leave a gap if you're not attached to source energy. So I would always say it's not just about the sound. What are you refilling? What's fueling the sound, and what's refilling your body afterwards? So get that energy coming in, and when you need to push that out, what sound does it want to make? Now, I'd invite a client to just allow that sound to come out. There's no sound for anger or for guilt or for grief. You know, I don't know what that's going to sound like, but I think in somatic healing, it's the same. It's permission to make ugly sounds. And that's really good for us. Sound healing sometimes sounds incredibly beautiful, but it should have permission to sound hideous, because what we're doing is we're releasing something that's hard and that's stuck a lot of the time. And you'll notice it particularly when you work with groups and everybody's being told, okay, just let the sound come out. Sometimes there'll be a point where you'll think, that is so awful, like it's a really ugly sound. But what I find in groups, group work shows me even more than individual work how cleverly sound works to resolve it. I feel like it seeks harmony, it seeks that. And so we have this really ugly sounds that can happen, and then suddenly it will drop down into a harmonious note, and we'll know then that we've moved it. So if you don't allow yourself to make the ugly sound, to make yourself sound like a crazy person or whatever it is that you're worrying about, you won't shift it enough. If you're trying to sound pretty, you won't notice when it drops into a natural harmony. So let yourself growl if you need to growl, you know, let it come out broken, and then allow, then you'll find once you've kind of moved it out, then you're summoning the the sound that naturally heals the thing you've just moved. And then, you know, just in case people are going to use this for their own work, I would say to finish it off, get that flow of energy that you, whether it's earth energy or whatever your prefer, you can use Reiki or anything, whatever your preferred healing source is, flow it into that part of the body and keep the sound moving, but shift your intention slightly into the healing for that, the refilling for that, because you don't want to leave gaps, you don't want to leave holes. It needs to be something that's gonna, yeah, you want to seal it up afterwards, and you can use your voice for that, and that sound will be slightly different, because then you're talking about whatever is the antidote to the thing you just moved.
So how do I do that? Because when whenever I try and sing, even if I'm just kind of singing on my own, whenever I try and use, even when I'm chanting runes, I
Mm.
have this part of my brain that just goes, oh, that was a bit wrong, or oh,
Mm.
that sounded a bit flat. So, how do I, as somebody who really isn't a natural singer, how do I get out of my own head to then make those ugly sounds, particularly if I think the neighbors might be hearing?
Oh yeah, the poor neighbours. I mean, I don't know what mine think. I really don't. I think not calling it singing is a start, right? We're not making music here. It's not. We're doing energy work. You know, one of the things, apply it to things that you are naturally good at. So, like naturally, you are a seer, right?
Mm-mm.
And so, when you're given a message that you need to pass on, whether you're working one-to-one with a client or whether you're in like a high seat, right, or whatever, you've just learned to, you just say the thing, right?
Mm-mm.
Because that message isn't for you. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not, right? Because these are the things that people ask about seership, isn't it? How do I know that what I'm saying is right? You just have to trust it. And the same is true of the voice work. It isn't singing. It isn't, we are doing energy work. And so if you don't like the sound, it doesn't matter, because that sound isn't for your ears. The sound is to move energy. It's magical work. It's healing work. And so the sound, whether the sound is pleasing or not, is irrelevant. It's the vibrational work. And if the sound is ugly, you know, if you want to engage your analytical brain with it, because sometimes that helps, right? Well, why is it ugly? What am I doing? If I'm singing this particular rune and my voice keeps cracking at a particular point, why? What aspect, what element of that rune am I struggling and feeling blocked with? So one of the ways is just to try and stop thinking of it as music, try and stop thinking of it as singing. Also, I find that singing for healing purposes, like using mantras, I like the Buddhist mantras, the Tibetan Buddhist mantras. It develops your voice because you're singing for energy work then, and there's something about it that just makes you, you know, Deva Premal says that she used to be a sort of okayish, not very good singer, but she did mantras every day and it turned her voice into something else. So like anything, if you do it enough, it turns, this is a tool. If you develop that tool, develop that muscle, you do become slightly better at it, but also probably slightly better as you come into the harmonious part of it. You probably sound better anyway because you're developing the instrument, the tool, you know. But yeah, also I think you have to trust it. That's such a non-answer, but you have to, and find easy ways in, find bridging sounds. So if you look at like the chakras, when you you know, Ra, Ma, Da, Sa, Say, So, Hung, if you're going to work, use that. Basic sounds. These are things that already have some energy in because other people use them. And just do those and notice and take note of where it sounds or feels bad for you, and keep moving through them and see how it changes over time. And then you've given yourself a little bit of a gateway into it, really. But I think it's such an intuitive practice. I'm so against giving people any words to use or any, you know, because it's a wild and natural practice. And so I don't want people to be like, oh, I want it to sound a certain way. I want people to commit to like the wildness of the act and be in the freedom of it. And it's an act of trust. And take it outside is another thing I would say.
Interesting.
Walking in, being in spaces of nature and doing it when there's no one else around. If you can be in a space that's, you're by the sea, aren't you? Walking along the shore, doing singing work to release and all those kinds of things. No one's going to hear you then. If you get down there at the right time of day, it all gets snatched up by the wind and by the waves anyway. So it provides a layer of protection for it, but also there's something really natural about singing outside and being in nature, and it does give you that little bit of it gives you another way to do it where you're not too worried about what it sounds like in your space and how people will react.
I really like the idea of going out somewhere to do it when there is no one. But I also really love the idea of being able to say, it's not singing, it's a message. I am repeating that message. So I think that will really help me and also anybody else that worries a bit about sound.
It's because we've been told, loads of us have been told, that we can't sing. Or like, this is the talented few that can do these things. And it's lots of things about all kinds of different forms of art have been told, you know, that we're not allowed that, only the precious few. In The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron talks about that, like, you know, we've been told that there's only these talented elite that are allowed to do these things, but a lot of these things are natural to all of us. You don't have to be able to be a recording artist in order to do this kind of work. Everybody sings, and we know that singing promotes healing as a natural thing, because, you know, how natural is it to sing to babies to calm them, you know what I mean? And how many of us have sat and sung, you know, when you've had people, you know, when I visit relatives in hospital or in hospice or whatever, and I'm just doing little chants, little songs with them. It's a natural thing. We sing to children, we sing as groups. There's something so healing about that, and we all know that. But then when we're put on the spot where we try to actively do it instead of just doing it as like a little natural background thing, suddenly we feel like we need to sound like Adele or whatever, and it's not about that, you know. They're singing for entertainment, we're singing for work.
That makes a lot of sense. So for me, the thing that I really love in terms of voice work is where you go to a seathry, and I know that yourself and Maggie do this a lot within the rites that you put on, but you go to a seathry and the spirits are called with the voice, and you can hear or you can feel the palpable change in the room. I can feel the energy change. I know I am working now. This is what I'm doing. I'm in. And it's almost as though that voice work is what's creating that trance state. So, probably a difficult question, but how can we do that? What are you doing that I'm not?
I know, right? And I get asked this about loads of things. It's so funny when I get asked about stuff. I go, oh, that's interesting. I want to know more about that. How do you do it? And I go, oh, I don't know. You know, I just did. I don't know. And I would say key is to have an intention, a very, very specific intention. So Maggie and I and a group of other people, we did some very, very experimental seath work. And we used no drums, and we didn't use the high C, and we didn't do any of the things that people do, and we specifically, we were not trying to go to Helmheim or to Asgard or to anywhere. We were operating within a liminal space. And the only role of the singer, which I think is a little different than in high C rites, the only role of the singer was to build the space and literally call up the portals, call up the doorways. And so as you sing, you're pulling the doorways up and open, and you're building that liminal space for the seer. That's kind of how we were working. And it was entirely experimental. It wasn't really based on, I honestly, now I look at it, I think, why don't we just spend like 3 or 4 years just doing that for lols, just to see what would happen. And what we found was that we would have somebody guarding the real life space. And so that would be the person who was like properly holding the staff, as it were, you know, to compare it to the highs that you had. It was almost like the master of ceremonies kind of role. and they were very much about this protecting the circle space that all the priestesses were in. And the singer was operating entirely in, I guess, what you would call like an astral space, a liminal space. And so it was just about, I don't really know how to say to do that, but you understand it because you're a seer as well. It's mediumship, isn't it? You're shifting yourself just across the veil. So whatever you use to get there, you know, that's where you're turning your eye, as it were, and you sing with that intention. And so for me, operating as a singer in that space, my intention was to build a liminal space in between the worlds that the seer could then safely walk through. And so I was building the doorways and then taking them down afterwards and pulling spirits towards me with that work. And also singing protection around the I don't know, you're responding to what you see in the same way that you would in a high seat, right? You can see when the spirits are coming. You can see when something's coming in that you think, actually, that's not what I wanted. You know, so you're always adjusting the song to that thing. So the sounds that I guess I tie my voice to my intention. And because of all those years of healing training and then the magical training that I did to use, I never do magic without singing whatever it is. I never walk land without singing to the land if it's the first time I've been there. I never reaffirm the protection around my home without doing that kind of voice work. Everything I do, the voice is my thing that I attach my intention to. And then it just kind of works. But it's these are the things. The voice for me is the easiest thing, and I think it's the best thing for anybody to develop, because then it's with you all the time. It's great to learn to be a good drummer. I think I'm a good medium with a drum. I'm a good channeler of drumming, but anyone who's a real life drummer would be like, that's not a rhythm, you know. So really only in a ceremony will my drumming be considered acceptable. Generally speaking, it's not. But it's something that that's my natural thing, is to work with my voice, but also you don't have to carry anything. You don't have to prepare for it. If it comes upon you suddenly that you want to connect through your voice, you can. You've always got it with you. So I feel like we should all be given the right and the freedom to kind of explore that. But over the years, as you explore it, it becomes something that you can use very, very specifically. So I don't know what I'm doing that you're not doing, to use your phrase, but I think it is about having always brought my voice into that work, no matter what the work is. So I always sing when I'm speaking to the ancestors. I always sing when I've got clients in front of me. And when I first started to do that, it was really terrifying. You know, when you're doing healing work and you think, oh no, I can hear it. You know, you can hear it before it comes out. Oh no, this isn't really what they signed up for. Like, you know, especially in the early days when I was doing Reiki and everyone was coming along for nice plinky plonky music and a relaxing experience, and I start kind of singing weird sounds into their arms or whatever it is that I'm doing, but actually people respond. And so you have to kind of trust it. Yeah, I think that's all I'm doing. It's just fixing my intention, but tying my voice to it as the tool, as the bridge. You know, you talk about how difficult it is to be in your body sometimes. For me as well, I'm very much, I think those of us that are natural seers, we exist up here somewhere. Yes. We're very good at like talking to dead relatives, but quite crap at remembering when the bills are due and to take the bins out on the right day. Do you know what I mean? Yes. It's like it's a grounding problem generally. Yeah. Singing as a bridging mechanism to pull yourself into your body, for me it's more powerful than, you know, all my best meditations are writing, running and singing. None of this visualization stuff, because that I'm doing all the time. So it's vision. Think of it as something that's anchoring you in. Singing is a solid thing. It's a sensation, right? There's a Laura Dallaghan and I run a song circle in Glastonbury. It's weird as all hell. It's wonderful. And everyone is so, I mean, I guess it's Glastonbury, right? Everyone's like, yeah, I'll stand up and growl and whoop and whatever. And we're like, okay, great, we'll go with that. But we had a really weird day where there was a miscommunication. All our students were waiting downstairs and we were waiting upstairs going, why is no one here? People have booked, where is everyone? So we started drumming and singing a little bit to kind of, you know, just because we were there, and thought, well, okay, we'll start the work. And so someone who was a tourist who had just arrived heard us from downstairs. And so she said, oh, can I join? And her husband came up to me in the circle and he was like, I'm going to be here because my wife wants to be here. And so he was, you know, being the, just making it safe for her. And we were like, that's fine. You know, he's like, I'm going to buy my ticket, but I don't believe in this stuff. I'm going to go to sleep in the corner. And he was speaking to me in a way that, and I was like, it was quite strange. And he said, you know, I'm completely deaf. And I thought, oh no, this is really gonna, a non-believer who can't hear us. But he could hear our songs. His body responded to the drums, but to the voice as well. And he was our big convert of the night. He went away and bought a drum, you know. It's like,
wow.
He was like, I heard it. I heard songs. And there were sounds that Laura and I made that afterwards he was like, oh, that wailing sound was interesting. You can't hear it. How can, you know, so it's operating in that different space, but it's bodily, it's grounding it in. You can feel it as well. So for those of us that struggle with grounding, using these physical things as meditation is really good for us. I gave up on the sort of counting your breaths and all that sort of stuff a long time ago. I need something visceral.
That makes a lot of sense. And for me, I think the biggest takeaway from what you've said here is the intention. And I think sometimes when you're singing, you forget that. You forget the difference between creating a nice sound and singing the energy. And really, Seidr is about bending and shaping energy. So when you speak, I'm really hearing the voice of the past. I'm really hearing the seers that I read about in the sagas. I'm really hearing Torbjorg talking about calling the spirits in. And I'm reminded that this is so much of the work that we do. So I'd like, if you don't mind, and you can say no,
I'd like to sing. I can see it in your face.
You know I am, you know, but I'd like to. So we had down in Kent yesterday, we had the Northern Lights. So I didn't see them, but we could go out to Broadstairs, to Botany Bay, look at the coast and see the Northern Lights in the sky. So
what's going on?
I'm so in the Northern Lights now, and we can use the Northern Lights for balance, for focus, for healing the energy, for repairing our soul energy. So just to be really complicated, can you sing me a soul repairing, a soul energy repairing song based on the Northern Lights?
What an outrageous request. Yeah, I love it. You know, it's the kind of thing that I would love to get a group together and do. Imagine, you know, we talk about building songs, right? And when you're building, when you've got a complex intention like that, that's what I would say to people. Get your people together who are willing to have an experiment, because a complex song has a lot of threads. When we talk about it as building a song, as weaving a song, right? And I consider that to be, like you say, ancient women's magic. That's what I think that is. So you can bring in all of those kind of ideas, someone calling in the light and someone calling in the soul work. The soul repair work, it would be different if you're working with an individual person, right? So what it is to kind of do soul retrieval work, where call back a part of the soul, or like power songs where you're calling back someone's medicine. And you can even, I use people's names or people's, you know, magical names or priestess names or whatever to call them back into their body. So if you're working with an individual person, it would be a very specific song that you would make for that. If you're going to do it for a general all-purpose, I would say using that light as a gateway into finding your own repair, because then you can sing for a collective. So that's probably the way that I would approach it. Again, it's all about your intention, right? What's your voice calling in? So for soul repair, I would call in an intention to kind of use that light to open a gateway to call that in, so that someone could stream it into themselves in a safe way, not an unbalancing way. So those would be the threads that I would want to weave in while I was singing it for someone to use.
So that's amazing to just come up with that without just, you know, I've thrown something so complex at you and you're like, yeah, so you just do this and this and this and then you'd be done.
Yes, so that's what you do. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
So I really love the idea of having different people singing different colours. So having the green and the pink and the purple and the blue all woven in. So I love that.
Yeah.
So can you sing me some Northern Light Balance?
I shall do my best. Or do you think I'll be all right to use my drum?
Oh yeah, it should be fine. I think
it will work a little bit. I'm using my proper microphone like a grown-up, which I sometimes forget to do. So if I bang on this bit, you can edit out, but can you hear the drum okay?
I can. I'm going to put myself on mute, which will then help to stop the sound shifting.
Lovely, lovely. Okay.
It's amazing that you can just literally go, I'm going to do this now. And like, here it is. And for me, it's so lovely to see people using voice, and it's something that I would love to be able to do more within my Seath work, because I think it's such an important thing. So I heard a little birdie say that yourself and Maggie and Laura are going to do a Norns ritual using the voice in Glastonbury.
Yes, and we haven't decided what we're doing, but you should absolutely be there. It's on the 3rd of February, I think. If we can pin Maggie down and book in time to book a venue, that's the plan. Yeah.
Brilliant. So would people be able to come along? Is that something we can book?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it will be. So it's built on the healing song circles that Laura and I do, which are entirely open, right? So it's part shamanic journeying, part singing for healing and for magic. But those are one of the few things that I do that are open to complete beginners if they want. And we've had people show up who, like, it's their first shamanic journey, they've never used a drum, they've never done any, like, even chanting or anything, and they're able to do the work. So it is open in that sense, but we haven't decided exactly how we're going to do it yet, but the Norns as a way of singing in these different threads to kind of bring that, to kind of bring that in so that people can use it and learn more about it. It's not enough Norn stuff in the world, in my opinion.
I agree. Yes, I totally agree.
And I think they are amazing for, I've done a lot of Seath work that's been about the Norns more than, I know everyone generally says, I work with Freya, I have a good relationship with Freya also, but for me, working with the Norns, for me, it's that weaving, it's the loom that is the song. So we'll be looking at it for people to learn more about those practical aspects of, you know, it's good to have some real deep embodied priestess work happening here in Glastonbury, you know, practical stuff that's grounded in a bit of knowledge about the history, but also just about experiential stuff and freedom to kind of use it yourself. But it should be a really fun event, I think. I'm excited about it. The three of us have not done a singing ritual together before.
Oh wow, so this is a real not to be missed thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be big.
Brilliant. So we're kind of winding down the time now, so this has been absolutely amazing to chat with you, Kay. I feel like I've learned loads and I feel like although we've kind of spoken for nearly an hour, it's those tiny nuggets. Yeah, we've gone through. So it's those tiny nuggets really that I'm going to take away. The intent, the letting the sound be ugly, these things that I really almost haven't given myself permission to do. But is there any other nugget that you can leave us with? Any like piece of information that will really help our voice work?
I think if you're going to try and connect in with voice work as a magical practitioner or a healing practitioner, doing a meditation or visualization or a shamanic journey, I mean, there's so many great drumming tracks out there and things like that, to learn to kind of to call in a song that's for yourself. You know, something that will strengthen you for the work is a really good idea. And in core shamanism, people talk about that a lot. Michael Harner spoke about it in Way of the Shaman, and he trained Sandra Ingerman, who's incredible, like soul retrieval practitioner. She trained my teacher, who's still every time he does a journey for somebody, sings his song to bring him into that place. So if it's something people are worried about or want to develop, there's an inherent protection and a real easy way to learn who you are as a vocal practitioner, to journey to find your song and then sing that. And you might find when you journey and you can kind of hear it, you might find that it's, oh, actually I hum that to myself just when I'm sorting the house out or when I'm getting ready to go into a ritual. Or it might be a song that you know and you go, oh, you know what, you know, my mum used to sing me that when I was a kid or something. It could be like a little, it doesn't have to be this like amazing thing. It can be like a little folk song that you know, or a chant that comes to you, or a mantra or something. And then sing that over and over, because that builds the strength in your voice, but also summons around you the protection, and kind of it emphasizes your medicine as a practitioner, like your purpose in that work. So that's something, if you want to develop as a vocal practitioner, I think it's really important to go in and do that.
So I think this is a workshop, Kay.
Yeah, I know, right? I was thinking
it is.
Should we do that?
Yes, I think this is a workshop. I think I would absolutely love to learn my song and have guidance to learn my song. And that's something that the Sami have. You know, the Sami have this tradition of everybody is born and they're given their own yoik, and you can sing that yoik to heal someone, to let them know that you're thinking of them. I want that workshop. I want to learn how to do my song.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And there's something delightful about doing it. I've done it before. I've led that workshop before in the past in London, and there's something delightfully vulnerable about it as well when you find your song to then sing it to the room. But that's something that I think the Sami would have done. And actually, you know, if you read like, you know, the Eliade book and stuff, and they talk about, you know, the singing soul parts home and stuff in all these different regions of the world. It was part of the old shamanistic cultures. So yeah, I love it.
Amazing. And it links in, the soul work links in with a type of psychology, type of psychotherapy that we call IFS, internal family systems, which is about finding parts of yourself and then reintegrating them. And there's something very shamanic about that. And every time I learn more about this, I hear more about this soul retrieval. And what an amazing thing to combine singing that part of you back to you, singing to heal that part of you. So I could go on for hours talking to you because it's so much, you know, healing and more kind of therapy work. The two are the same thing, and I think I would love to really build more of a combination of the two. And I think having the real kind of transpersonal healing work is so important when you're working as either a hypnotherapist or a psychotherapist or even as a counselor. So I want to continue this conversation just
Me too.
forever. But for today, thank you so much for really spending this time with me, and we will look forward to doing other things in the future.
Excellent. Thank you, my love.